This episode of Married Now Widowed is sponsored by Evolution Laser Clinic, Apex Financial Services and the Cosmetic Lounge. Welcome back to another episode of Married Now Widowed. We're your hosts. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nadine, and this podcast is about navigating life after loss through unfiltered conversations.
Yes, we're back again.
Back again.
For another episode. Now, this episode is about sort of, what's the word for it?
Misconceptions.
Yeah,
I think.
widows.
Yeah.
Right? And there was another word though, misconceptions and
Same
stigma.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's associated with widows and for us, obviously, in particular, young widows, right?
Yeah.
So can I start? Can I just get straight into it with a really one? Okay, so something that I found, and when I did a little bit of reading about misconceptions and stuff that other widows were facing, the biggest one that came up was financial stuff. Okay. So many things to unpack here. Number one, and we've spoken about this before, people have an idea that when someone's spouse passes
I know where
away,
you're going with this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
That we are given their secret bank account filled with millions to survive off, right? So I don't know why people think that. I think it's actually created by movies. That's where I think it's from, right? So you know how in every storyline, like someone dies and they inherit all this money, right? Yep. Maybe if you've got really wealthy parents that pass or something like that. But think about it logically, right? It's your spouse. 99% of the time, you know about their assets.
That's right.
You know about their cash on hand.
That's
right. So it's not some big inheritance that you get when your spouse passes. It's pretty much financially business as usual minus an income.
Exactly.
Right? So number one, I just wanted to get that out there because a lot of people think that. A lot of people, I've heard so many times, oh, but you got his stuff, right?
Yeah, but what stuff? His belongings? His clothes?
You kill me. I can't.
His shoes?
2 seconds in.
No, but think about it.
Yeah. You guys think about it. We've thought about it.
Yeah. We've got his stuff.
Right? Yeah.
So we've got his personal belongings.
Of course.
Can I add to that?
Of course you can.
Because now I know where you're going with this. Yeah. Mick was sick for a while, which meant he wasn't working for a while.
Yeah.
Which meant anything he had or we had in savings or whatever, who do you think is paying the bills when he's sick and he's going through chemotherapy and he can't work?
That's exactly right.
Who's paying the bills?
Of course. Well, I don't know. People think the bills disappear. Yeah.
I don't know.
And unless you have a case where your partner dies suddenly, usually that is the case. If someone's really sick, they stop working, right? So
that's
naturally,
exactly right.
Money is being drained leading up to their death anyway.
That's exactly right.
So that's
and just to add also, why are people assuming this? How do you know what he had? How do you know? What assets he had, what his financial status was. How do you know?
Yeah, no one really knows unless you're you or him,
correct,
right? Or her.
So why do people assume that they've left you this,
pot of gold?
Exactly.
Yeah,
this
I know.
Pot of gold.
I hear it a lot.
Why? Why are people assuming that?
I don't know. I genuinely, I think it's movies. Really, I do, babe, because that's what happens in movies. People inherit, people die, and someone else inherits all this great wealth. So
okay,
I feel
but that's a movie. This is reality.
Yeah, people they can't, doesn't.
Oh, we can't separate the two.
No, definitely not. So that's where I think that comes from, genuinely, right? So yeah, one thing I want to clear up, a lot of people who are widowed do not find this magical wealth account from their partner to survive off, right? But on the other side to this, if they are the normal person that doesn't have wealth that's passed down to them or handed, from their partner or whatever, let's just say they are struggling. we don't want to be made to feel that way.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be talked about or looked at in that manner. It's uncomfortable for anybody, right? So I think that that's something for people around widows to note. They don't want to be made to feel like they're struggling, like they're going through enough. They don't want to be embarrassed, even though technically it's not embarrassing. But let's be real. If someone is making you feel like you need handouts or you need basic like necessities or stuff like that, it is uncomfortable for someone, regardless of what your situation is, right?
Not just that, but if you're assuming, I get what you're saying, but if on the flip side, if you're assuming that they've left you this, you know, pot of gold and you've inherited all this money and all these assets.
Yeah.
Not imagine, they haven't.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel then?
I lost you. What? How does that make who feel? You or you?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Give it to me again, the scenario. Sorry, guys. Are you with her? I'm not.
So, listen, we've walked into this episode and I was quite pissed off, okay?
No,
so
God,
bear
if you
with me.
only knew what's happened prior to this.
I was calling you and you weren't answering. And I'm like texting her.
I was going to see you in 10 minutes.
I'm shaking. Answer my call. Okay, listen.
Yeah, give it to me again.
Okay.
Put me.
So
use me.
Okay. Obviously, our husbands didn't leave us, you know, a gold mine.
Yeah. Oh, I get you.
So, like, and people are, if they're coming to you and they're assuming that about you, like,
yeah,
how does that make you feel?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm with you.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to feel, it makes you feel, I don't know, like.
I'm just going off with his money?
No.
I'm so confused, guys.
I think I'm editing this whole thing.
What is happening? You're not articulating yourself very well. I've got points, so please make yours.
You're an asshole. If someone is sitting there assuming that you have all this money, that he's left you all of this money, and he hasn't, that will almost...
Oh, good morning. Okay. Oh, okay.
What?
Now I'm with
finish my sentence.
You mean like... No, I can't. I can't even articulate what you're saying, but I know what you're saying.
What am I saying?
So you're saying that if they're expecting him to have left you and looked after you, which I hate that term too, because just because he wasn't a multi-billionaire doesn't mean he didn't look after me or intended not to look after me.
Correct.
Is that the angle you're taking?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah, that's shit too. That's shit as well. It's actually shit from every angle. Whatever the person's assuming, whether they're assuming that he's left you with a ton of money or no money, it's bad from both.
I just imagine sitting there and you're having a conversation with a rando who's assumed that he's left you all of this wealth.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and in your mind you're thinking, if only you knew.
Yeah.
Like if only you knew.
Yeah. You know, I've been in that position, but not with them assuming he's left me money. Someone actually said to me, so this person was really close to us at the time and knew the ins and outs, and actually after he died knew the financial, my financial status and what he had left and etc. was really, really close to me, him actually. And he actually said to me, because he was just disgusted by people not assisting or offering their assistance, and he goes, do you know what it is? He's like, from what I've heard from boys, it's because you have a business. I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, they're just like, oh, he goes, one of them actually said to me, thank God she's got a business. Otherwise we would have had to help out. And I was like.
But do people know what comes with owning a business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't even work for the last 2 years.
That's
because
right.
of pregnancy and
no, but honestly,
him.
do people think that because you own a business, you're running to the bank?
Yeah, they do. Of course they do. And I just couldn't believe.
And don't forget, you once had 2 incomes.
Yeah, it's massive to lose an income.
Of course it is, especially now.
But I don't think people realize how important that second income is, because I think when you have it, it's the norm.
That's
and
right.
You've never really been in a position where you've lost X amount of money every year, right? From someone passing, you no longer have that income. Because I have to be honest, right? I very early on, I'm talking first 48 hours, my girlfriend, who's very close to me and loves to sort out like my life and make sure I'm good, made a comment about, oh, well, what are we going to do now, like with bills and stuff? And I said to her,
I remember you told me this.
And I said to her, I go, babe, it's like business as usual, not literally business, but I meant like bills as usual. Like, don't worry about that. It's fine. It's not going to make like it's good. I've got it. So I don't even think I realised how much of a massive impact losing an entire income to a household would have. And it sounds stupid now when you really think about it. But honestly, back then, I didn't really think about it because, it's not like, and I've said this to people before, you don't count every single thing, right? So I'm not thinking, oh, look, today he spent $500 on groceries. That's $500 I didn't have to spend. Today he filled my car. Well, yeah. But generally, I'm not thinking about what he's spending on me or the house. It's just the norm. You know what I mean? He went to Woolworths for me. He bought our groceries. He took my car. He filled my petrol. It's the norm. So when all that's gone and it's like ton of bricks on you, like literally the next day, right? Because that's when reality happens as soon as they pass. It makes such a big impact, right? So obviously people don't think about that, number one. Another thing I want to add, which I think is so important, and I always talk to not just grievers, but people that support people for grievers, right? I'm talking to you guys now, okay? If you want to help a widow, male, female, whatever it is, or if you want to help someone that's lost someone that they depended on financially, you don't need to ask them. You can just do it. Let me repeat that. You don't need to ask them because they'll be embarrassed. You can just do it. Okay?
Are we sending messages?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because, most people are too, I don't know if you'd call it proud or just shy, to accept help. And look, I'll be a little kinder, not just financial help, any help in general after that period, right? So if you want to do something for someone or you feel like they could benefit from something,
just do it.
Just do it. You don't need to ask them. They're not going to say yes 99% of the time, right? You'll get the 1% that'll be like, yeah, I need this, I need that. And that's great. I'm glad you have the confidence. Most people don't, okay? And another thing with that, I think a lot of widows want to uphold their husband's honor in a sense as well. So from that angle too, they don't want to make their husband look bad or like he didn't have things in place to look after his family or he didn't, it comes with a whole bunch of things. Widows feel shame around the topic of finances.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So that's my big tip. guys, in this episode, that's my takeaway. If you're around someone that has lost someone and you do want to help them, or you think that they're struggling, and even if they're not, but you still just want to do something for them, or you want to give them something, or you want to whatever. And on top of that, if you're uncomfortable with offering because you feel like you don't want to make them embarrassed or whatever, there's a billion ways you can do things. Jeez, a billion ways you can do things anonymously. A billion, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I just think that if more people did that, it would help a lot of people that are in that situation.
Yeah.
And
without embarrassing them.
Without embarrassing them. And don't forget as well, and I don't mean to be like sort of like old school here, but or I don't want to bring like our culture into things, but there are still in this day and age a lot of households where the woman doesn't work, right?
That's right.
She looks after the house and the kids. So if that's the case and she's lost her husband, think about what a big lot, like I can't even imagine the position I'd be in if I had no job.
That's right.
When Mohammed passed away. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I'm sure people would have stepped in.
It would have been the biggest struggle,
that would be.
But don't forget, because you have your own business.
I don't need any help, apparently. Yeah, thanks. That's great, guys. Glad that helped your, what's it called? How you feel.
Yeah.
Your conscience. I'm glad that make you feel better. We don't need help, Kayla.
Yeah.
She runs a lash salon. So that's the biggest stigma, I feel like.
But you don't think people would have said the same thing about me?
Absolutely.
I own my own business.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Of course. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But you know what?
It's okay. She owns her own business. She doesn't need any help.
Or she has his stuff. She can sell his T-shirt, get $10, feed the family. It's just stupid.
It is stupid.
That's why it makes me laugh, because it's just stupid. You have his belongings.
You know what else it is? If they had nice things.
Who's they?
Our husbands.
Oh, yeah.
If they had
yeah.
If they had nice things, it automatically meant that you're loaded.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But you know what? Ever heard of finance guys? Do you know how many times I heard comments about his cars? You don't understand. And not even in like a way like that, more like, oh, but you've sold his cars, right? He's got that really nice, that one. Yeah. Yep.
And I remember when you and I first met.
I was crazy back then. Yeah. I
we
know
were
exactly
sitting,
what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
About me keeping his cars.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting down and we were discussing, you know, their cars and their belongings and stuff like that. And I remember he had, I don't know, was it 2? It was a work car and then
3
cars.
Yeah, and mine 4.
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't.
And I remember you didn't want to let that go. And so you kept paying for them.
Because I just couldn't at that time. It was way too early on for me.
Of course.
I mean, I didn't
But my point to that is.
Yeah. You have to think of that aspect too.
But because you know your husband had however many cars.
Yeah.
It automatically meant that.
Yeah. And I think
you were good because he was loaded.
Well, yes, lucky me. But people also don't take that aspect into consideration, that, you know what, maybe my husband had $1 million worth of cars, let's just say, and maybe they were all paid off, right? And that's $1 million in my pocket. Fantastic. I can survive in Sydney for the next 6 months. Great. But it's not easy to just sell them off like they're nothing just to get that money to survive. I know it seems like the logical thing to do. And I know as well from a male's brain in particular, because a lot of the women understood where I was coming from, but the men didn't. A lot of the men, his friends, were like, Kayla, you gotta let this go. This is ridiculous. Like, this is crazy. It was, it wasn't crazy at the time for me. Looking back, it was probably a little crazy, right? Like not just the payments. I used to get this guy, babe, to come out. He used to sit for 7 hours, wash for like every single car. It was ridiculous.
I remember at the time, I didn't think it was crazy because I knew what you were feeling in that moment.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that. So let's just pretend my husband did have all his cars paid off. He had all this nice stuff. Let's say he had watches and this and that. Okay, that could keep me going for a little bit, for sure.
That's right.
But it's not an easy thing to part with those things. And we're gonna do an episode on that, right? On parting with stuff and what did we do? You know, because that's a whole nother thing in itself. It's really difficult because people forget that this is all we have left. That's right. It. Materialistic items. That's so exactly to you guys, it's like, what's she doing? Sell them. She's going to have all this money in her pocket, feed her kid, whatever. I know it's logical, but once they're gone, they're gone. You can't get those back. And it's like, when do you do that? How do you do that? It's guilt too.
Like I sold Mixed car quite early.
Yeah.
The guilt that I have till now.
Yeah. Yes, see? Which is like, if
I
widow,
always think I should have kept it.
Yeah, but do you still think that now?
That's how I genuinely feel now.
Now?
Maybe not today.
Yeah, no. Guys, oh gosh. I mean, we share a lot on this podcast, but
but yes.
Yeah. Really? But why?
But maybe I feel that now. Maybe I feel that way now because I sold it so early on.
Yeah.
Had I sold it like a
little
while
bit,
after,
I think you wouldn't feel that way.
I probably
now.
wouldn't feel that way. But because I sold it really early on, maybe that's why I feel a little bit guilty.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of pressure too because people are like, you need to do what's best for your kids, right? And that's true, 100% we do.
Yeah.
So that would be the logical thing. Of course, a car holds, like it's just a car. The longer you keep it, the more it depreciates. It's silly, right? Everyone's like, get rid of it, get the money for your kids, you blah, blah, blah. But it's still difficult. It's their car.
That's
I remember one of his cars in particular. The other two, to be honest, I really didn't have any emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
One of them, like, that's the car I met him in. That's the car that like I used to like see it drive like past in my area and used to give me butterflies. Like that was sentimental to me. But after some time, what are you going to do with it? What are you're going to have a car yard?
Well, yeah, and not just that. Like, are you able to continue paying these cars off?
Yeah, right. So even if you are in a position where you actually need financial assistance, you're actually spending more because you're trying to hold on to something, right? But you just as a widow, you do what you think is right at the time. Yeah. But I think that's just finances are a big stigma and misconception.
Definitely.
So you will.
There was a comment left on our YouTube.
Oh, no.
One of our YouTube videos.
What was it?
She was saying, please speak about how hard it is for widows financially. She said, I think she said she was 51 and she said that, it's very hard for her to get a home loan. It's very hard.
I think we do a whole episode on that because that is
it's
so
very hard
true.
for her to get a rental property because she's a widow.
Of course it is.
Single mum.
Yeah, it's not favoured.
No.
Yeah.
You touched on this
a
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well, we'll dedicate a whole episode to that because it is true. It is tough. And we should we could probably find some resources for people as well, for widows that need assistance in that and what they can do. And because we've been through all of that, right? I mean, the great thing is that we're like, further ahead. So we've got sort of like a grip on things now, I would say. And obviously our financial situation has changed since the first, first year, I would say. Or, what's funny? I feel like financially you actually don't find your feet until like, I don't know, over a year later. Do you agree?
It takes a very long time.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling my accountant like a year later, I was like, whoa, okay, now I feel like I've
on track.
Like I know what expenses I have. I know what new things are on my head and what it took a year.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would take that long. And if I didn't go through what I had gone through, I would say a year to sort your shit out.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
A year. But it is hard.
It is hard.
And don't forget, you're grieving.
That's right.
You know, so you're grieving and dealing with a loss, but you're also getting calls from different companies and even for them, right?
That's right.
Like, oh, hello, trying to reach so-and-so. They haven't paid that. And I'm like, oh, they're what? Oh, I didn't know they owed that. Oh, hold on. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's what I think is the biggest and the one I don't like, because I feel like for me it made me really uncomfortable, and I feel like a lot of widows feel the same way. In particular, well, widow is a female. A widow, females more than males. I feel like males, there's not really that stigma around them because they're known as the breadwinners anyway. So they just assume like, oh, you were making the money anyway, so you're cool even though your wife's
you're good.
But even also not the case for men, right? We have to think about that. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Because what if their wife, you know, was working and was bringing
that's right
to the table as well. That's right.
Yeah. And people always forget about the men, right? Even with mental health in general. And that's why suicide rates are so high amongst males, because we forget about them. And you know what? Billy Dib made a really good point of that. Do you remember I was telling you how he had mentioned that he found it super difficult, and like it's fine to speak about this because he's spoken about this openly, but he found it difficult because he felt like he had such a stigma, like just being him, like, oh, you're tough, you're a boxer, you're Billy Dib, you know, you're all right, you know, and he felt like he couldn't show vulnerability, and that he said sort of, I don't want to use the word screwed up, but what's another, like screwed up his grief journey and the way that he was able to grieve,
because he was expected.
That's right.
To just power through it.
And I think that's what we see for men who lose their wives. We don't look at their finances. We're like, you're good. You're the man. You don't need your wife's income anyway. Don't worry about you. So we put them to the side. But men struggle too, right? Especially in this day and age. Society is different now. Two income households are pretty much vital now,
That's
right?
Yeah.
So, that's my thing on finances and misconceptions. So really don't assume that they have or that, you know, they don't have. And if you want to help, just do it. You don't need to ask them. They're not going to accept your help. They're embarrassed. And even when it comes to, let's just say something as, I don't want to say embarrassing, but as small as, I don't know if they've got kids. If you go up to a widow and, oh, do you need me to buy nappies for your children? It's belittling, right? Just buy them.
Just do it.
You know what? Let's just say she's got 50 boxes of nappies in her house. Who cares? You did your thing. You did a good deed. You helped her out. You bought it. You left it on her doorstep. There you go. If you need it, all good. That's it.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So important to just do things. Don't ask because, okay. So that's my first one on finances. Do you want me to go? Do you want to go again?
Go for it. You're on a roll.
Okay. So my second one would probably be, and one that makes me uncomfortable, but this makes me uncomfortable because it's my personality. So I know not everyone's like this.
Yeah.
The whole like feeling sorry for, it makes me really uncomfortable.
That people feel sorry for you.
Yeah. I don't know, just makes me uncomfortable. I don't know. I'm not saying maybe I don't know. Do widows want sympathy or empathy?
I don't know.
How are you with that?
So I was at work one day, and this was probably, I think it was over a year since he had passed. And, you know, there was a lady, she came into the clinic and she was, you know, I think we were talking about products or something, and I had one of my workers standing with me, and we're just going through products with her, and she was saying like, oh, you're both so beautiful. Your husbands would be, they're so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know how it came up. And then I was just like, oh, my husband passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't my intention to make her feel bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
of course
that wasn't
not.
my
Yeah.
intention. And then she was just like, I'm so sorry, almost going to cry because she felt so bad that she had said that.
Oh, okay. So not, oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I'm standing there, and then I felt bad that I made
Her feel bad. Yeah.
because that wasn't my intention
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And so when she was, you know, saying things that it just showed you that obviously she felt sorry for you.
Right.
It really did make me uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get what you're saying.
So you
like,
agree?
Yeah.
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 See, I don't want to talk for all widows because
because I also think there were some cases where I didn't feel uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't like what do you call, like, you know, the whole like damsel in distress vibe? I don't like that. Don't make me feel like I'm helpless and like a little, you know, like,
yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable because I'm actually really strong.
Yeah.
Right? Which I've noticed through this experience. But I just don't like to
and
be
that's
treated
the thing.
like that.
You are strong, and
yeah, I am.
It shows going through something like this, you become extremely resilient.
Of course.
You know, and you get this strength.
Yeah.
And
that you don't even know how you get this.
Yeah.
But I just, I guess, I don't know. I just don't like, I don't like people to feel sorry for me. That's what it is more so. And I don't know, sympathy is feeling sorry, but empathy is like feeling for, would you say?
Yes.
So like maybe empathy is good, but sympathy is not.
Correct.
Is that right? Well, for us, I'm not saying there might be some people that, you know, whatever. But for me in particular, and it's actually not that I don't feel sorry for myself, because I actually do. And I think I've told you this like before.
And you should feel sorry for myself
in some cases.
You should feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, I do. For my, you know what I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for my future. That's how I feel, because I feel like I've missed out on a lot now that my husband's passed away. So I do feel sorry for myself, but I guess it just makes me uncomfortable when people project that onto me, because I don't know how to react. But that's also my personality trait.
Definitely.
Right?
But also, I wouldn't say that is a bad thing.
Yep. So
if, for example, if people out there are doing that, I don't know. Like, if that's just a personal thing that you feel uncomfortable with, it doesn't mean that they are doing anything wrong.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to Do you
know what I mean?
Well, maybe just try and read a room with a widow as well, you know, depending on how they respond to something. Because I feel like, let's just say you're a random, you come up to me and you say I don't know, we're having a conversation, and then you find out, and then you're the whole act, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like, this is what I do, right? So
I've done that. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I realize that when I'm uncomfortable, that's how I react.
Like awkward?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You know,
it's okay.
When people say, what do they say? Oh, I think it's when my clients, every single client does this. Yeah. It's fine, guys. Love you all. But when they say to me, what's that sentence they say? I don't know if it's, I think it's just, I'm sorry for your loss, makes me awkward, because thank you is weird.
Yeah,
but
I know.
I run over it. I'm like, that's okay, thank you. Anyway, so yeah. And then when that happened and blah, 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 like we'll be talking about the topic because we'll be saying, maybe we'll be talking about husbands or something. And I'll say, yeah, look, well, my husband, you know, he actually passed away a few years ago. But, and then, oh my God. And then the whole thing. And I'm like, no, like I'm good today. I want to continue. So I quickly run over it. I'm like, thank you, that's okay. Anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, when he was well, and I quickly run over it. But I think that actually might be like a me problem. I just don't know how to respond to that. I'm a bit awkward with sadness, I feel. I'm a bit funny with emotion, aren't I?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's not, they're not doing anything wrong.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I do think a lot of, I don't know, you guys will tell me anyway, widows don't like the damsel in distress.
Yeah, no,
really
of course,
feeling,
I agree.
We're not helpless. That's the thing. We're sad, 100%, but we're not helpless.
Yeah, of course.
And looking to be saved, right? So speaking of looking to be saved, and we're going to do another episode, we said on people taking advantage of widows, right? Speaking of looking to be saved, it was funny because after my husband passed away, a lot of the dating options or people that were interested wasn't even from a perspective of, oh, you seem like a cool girl. Like it was more like, oh, your husband's died, let me swoop in and save the day vibes. And that makes me really uncomfortable because like, whoa, hold on. I don't need you to.
I don't need saving.
That's my point with the sympathy thing.
I can save myself.
Yeah,
I don't need you.
Like
to come
I'm
and save
still
me.
like a person. You know, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I don't like to be defined by
what has happened.
Defined in a way of sadness about what has happened to me, right? So I'd rather show strength about what I've gone through and what I've been through rather than be always seen as, oh, that poor, oh, you know, her. Like, you know, when you walk past a room or, you know, someone, you know, it's that thing, right? Like, you know, when someone's sick and let's say Mick, for example, right? So you and Mick are out somewhere, but he's unwell. He's going through his cancer journey. And I meet up with you and Mick and my friend. And then we leave and I'm like, oh, you know, her husband's sick. You know, that vibe?
Yeah.
And that's that's the vibe I get with other people. So it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then you walk away and it's like, oh, you know, her husband died. You know what I mean? Like it's like that. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Like you know, I'm always talking about my husband, love to remember him, love to, you know, whatever. And obviously we're doing a podcast about being a widow, right? So I'm all for that and I want to help other people and I want to whatever. I just don't really love the stigma around being, feel sorry for me. Because I don't need feeling sorry for, you know, that's another stigma that I came across a lot when I was reading into like what are widows facing and what are they feeling and what are people saying about them, you know, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to take the next one? Yep. Tell me.
I feel like widows are expected to grieve in a certain time.
Yeah.
Like there's a timeline.
By society.
Correct.
Yeah.
So social norms obviously, you know, indicate that.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a timeline.
Yeah, yeah.
And you need to, you know, you have a certain amount of time that you should grieve.
Yeah.
When in fact
it's open really to the person, to the individual.
Right.
Yeah.
It's personal.
Yeah.
It's unique.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be given a timeline of
course not.
When your grieving ends. What you think, you know,
what
our
someone
grieving
else
should end. Yeah.
And I touched on this in the first episode with regards to, in my opinion, unless it's physically like severely affecting you, like as in, I don't know, you can't get up physically and
That's
it's been like 2 years and you've
Definitely.
lost everything from it, that's a different story. But if we're talking about you just being down, upset, sad, crying, you know, whatever, and it's been 5 years.
But sorry, if I'm talking like say within the first year.
Oh, don't talk to me in the first year.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it.
But a lot of people, even a year and a half, even 2 years.
Still
you're
super
still
early
grieving.
days.
It is super early.
Yeah, no, I don't agree
And
with
so
that. I don't agree with
you're expected, and I think we touched on this in our previous episode when we spoke about the grief train.
Yeah.
You know, you're expected to move on or move forward in your life sooner than you would want.
But I always feel like people always expect you to do things at their pace, what makes them comfortable.
Okay,
you know,
but that works for you. That doesn't work for me.
yeah, people don't understand that though. People, again, you're just not going to get it unless you've been through it.
Yeah.
But you should try and understand it. You will never fully unless you've been through it, but you should try.
That's right.
You know? And
like one thing about me is I always put myself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? If I've never experienced something.
So do I.
I always put myself
me too.
In the other person's
Me
shoes.
too.
And I think to myself, how would I
think
you know,
we both
act? How
do
would
that.
I react?
Yeah.
How would I handle certain situations?
Yeah.
And so I don't like it when people have not been in a particular situation, yet they want to judge or they want to criticize your way of doing things.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. And for any widows that are out there and feeling like pressured to pick themselves up and be a bit happier or be a bit more social, whatever, you don't have to do any of that.
No.
You do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Exactly.
You've been through one of life's biggest calamities, right? Losing someone close to you, a parent, a child, spouse, that type of realm.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything worse than that.
No.
Right? So you do things at your pace.
Definitely.
And don't let anyone try and dictate what or when you should do.
That's exactly right.
On that, and another sort of subtopic that I had to misconceptions, but kind of falls into the same path of not telling people what to do when they should do it. Moving on, right? So men and women, they get different vibes, okay? So the men get move on as quickly as possible.
Especially if they've got children.
Yes, because God forbid a man would have to look after his own children. Wild stuff. Women get never.
Nope.
Ever. Forever single, miserable.
Yep. Yep.
Right? So,
but do you think, that's society 100% and cultural.
But is it just our culture? See, I don't know. Because I've never really, I'm not sure. You guys will tell us about that. Love our TikTok family. I swear I do. But you guys are just really, you got lots of opinions to share. I don't know if that's our culture.
And sometimes they share opinions when they haven't even, they don't even know what they're talking about.
But they're my favourite people that speak really strongly about something they've got no fucking idea about.
But they've come to a grief platform and they're making fun of the way we talk.
Oh, that's so fucked up.
Oh, I read that comment.
Another episode is coming about that.
I read that
comment.
comment.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's okay.
I wanted to reply to her.
Oh, please.
Did you go to her page?
No. Did you go that far? Jeez.
I went to her page. I clicked on her profile.
Was this the like girl?
Yeah.
So I don't know why it bothers you how we speak, but like, you know, you like
That's what she made fun of.
I mean, you can always just keep on scrolling. You don't have to leave a comment, but if you feel you have to, it's all right. We don't mind. You mind.
It really bothered me.
No, what for? Let him be. Let him live. Let him
Rude
live.
bitch.
So, God, she's coming for us in this episode.
I don't care.
Oh, good. Strong. She's building strength for you guys, you bullies, you big bullies. Yeah, so you guys will tell us if it's a cultural thing, I'm sure. But I actually don't know if it's culture or if it's just in general. But in our experience, that's how it is. So women are frowned upon for moving on and encouraged to stay single forever, and men are encouraged to get remarried as quickly as possible. So on that, I'm not really here to say when the right time is. The right time is when you think it's right.
That's exactly right.
But what I will say is fuck off with your opinions. Yeah, I was trying to put that nicely, but then I was like, you know what? There is no nice way.
No.
Stop telling people that they should move on, or stop telling people that they shouldn't move on,
right.
because it's not you. It's not your life. You don't know how someone's feeling. You don't know what they're going through. And you know what? Maybe they do the wrong thing soon after. Maybe they get into a relationship really quickly and then they realize they fuck up. But in that period, they're grieving. We do a lot of weird shit when we're grieving.
That's
we're
right.
in like another
Look,
universe.
years later, I don't mind if someone sits down and says, you know, like where are you at? Are you open to, you know, moving
okay, who's
forward
talking
with
so
your
nicely?
life?
I've never heard anyone speak so nicely. If everyone spoke like that, there wouldn't be an issue. That's a beautiful way to communicate with someone.
I've had friends say that to me.
I haven't friends. I've got nice friends too.
Yeah, I haven't. I wasn't offended by it.
I don't think that's offensive at all. I think it's the way.
No,
that
I mean right at the beginning. There's a difference.
I don't like it
the
at
ones
the
right at
start.
the beginning. It's quite disgusting, to be honest. But a couple of years in, if people like we're young, right?
Want to
People are
ask
going
you,
to
want to, yeah.
yeah.
I do agree. You know, the ones at the beginning, what are you thinking? It's a weird time to bring that up. And I'm talking first week.
Yep.
First week.
I got it in the first month.
I got it in the first week. I got it at, hold on.
Where were you? At the cemetery?
At the, no. So we have like a 3-day, what would you call it in
It's like a 3-day mourning.
Yeah, a 3-day mourning period where everyone gathers, family and friends and people who want to pay their respects and whatnot. That, in that time.
Sorry?
And you know what's funnier? I don't know you. Like, these are just there.
I want to know, what did they say to you?
Oh, you're young, you're beautiful, you'll find someone.
I hate that. I hate that.
It's been 72 hours.
But not just that. Is that going to make you feel better?
Yeah, no, it doesn't do anything. If you're out there wondering if this is you, if you're one of these people, it doesn't do anything for the person. No.
I'm going to wait for someone to come to me 72 hours after my husband passed away, and they are going to tell me, it's okay, you're young, you'll find somebody.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it all better for me.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah. It's rude. We've always said that it's rude.
What are you thinking?
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I've got to be what's devil's advocate here. I don't think that a lot of these people mean it in a malice way.
They don't.
No.
But can I say something?
Of course, this is your podcast. Take it away.
Something like that, I don't think that a lot of things people say is said maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
But that, fuck off. You don't come up to somebody after they've just lost their husband.
Read the room. Yeah, true. Very true.
And say, oh.
It's a weird thing, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to say.
You'll move on. No.
Yeah, it's rude.
Fuck you.
It's rude.
Don't tell me. And you know what?
Yeah.
What if I didn't want to move on? Don't tell me.
Nobody wants to in the
Correct.
first, so
but
that's
whether
why
it's
so
whether I want to
offensive.
move on or whether I don't want to move on, it's none of your business.
But hold on top of that, I don't know if you actually realize when you're saying this to someone, the widow or widower is not thinking about that in the first 3 days. No. It's not even a thought that's crossed their mind.
That's exactly right.
It's been days. Even the first whatever, few months. It hasn't, moving on, we haven't started to process, like, again, another episode topic, but we're going to do the stages of grief. And if we actually go through them, and if you don't know about them and, you know, you listen to the episode and we actually are going to go through them and break them down, you actually don't even start processing their death until months later.
That's right.
You think you are. You think, okay, I'm getting through it day by day. You haven't even begun. It hasn't even hit you. You're in denial phase, right? So it's just a weird, random fucking thing to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't like it. But my point was, it's not really something that you need to bring up to the person. You don't really need to tell them it's okay to move on, and you don't really need to tell them that it's not okay to move on, because it's not really your business.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm not talking about if this is your mother coming to you, talking to you about this. If you've got a good relationship with your mother or your father or your sibling, you know, that's a bit different. But like the girl from the cafe, we're good. We don't really need your approval or disapproval on the topic.
That's right.
Widows, they don't want to feel like that. They're already uncomfortable enough with this.
That's right.
Right? So that's another thing that I see a lot about moving on. A lot of people have opinions of it, right?
But on the flip side, like, people are telling you, oh, you'll move on. But I got, oh, no, you won't move on.
How? What's the sentence? What would they say?
Oh, no, I know that you won't, like, you know, want to move on. I know that, you know, that's not something you'll think about. Like, you'll just raise your children.
And meant to be like passive aggressive, or is it genuine?
Oh, I think genuine.
Oh, okay.
I think they genuinely are like, oh, no, she won't move on. Because that's what they would do.
Yeah. No, well, you don't know what you'd do unless your husband dies. So when he dies, you can let me know. I always say that to people because I don't think you'll know what you'll do, because I promise you, if there's one thing I'm certain about, you don't know until you're in it.
That's right.
So, yeah, don't worry about what you think you'll do. Worry when it happens to you, right?
Definitely.
So, okay, it's not passive aggressive, because I thought it was kind of like, because they don't want you to move on, they're putting that guilt on you. Like, not Nadine. Nadine's not going to move on.
But I thought that was genuine. No?
Either way, I guess it could be. I don't know. It depends on who it's coming from. Like, if my friend said that, I would think it's genuine. But then if maybe like one of his people said that, I might think it's a little passive aggressive. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, your shit can be taken out of context in a vulnerable time. So
definitely.
Again, as always, be careful what you say to someone that's grieving, because it might not be taken the wrong way. Not appropriate anyway.
I have another one.
Oh, give it to me. Yep.
I feel like widows have to act a certain way. Or society.
Oh, you took mine.
Oh, were you going to say
Judged for their appearance.
Society expects you to conform to certain expectations or behaviors.
Acting like a widow, looking like a widow.
No, that's not what I mean.
What? That's mine.
No.
Okay.
So in the first, say, 12 months, you should be, or in the first, not 12 months, let's call it 3-4 months.
Okay, early days.
Yeah. You should be sitting at home. You should be crying, not leaving the house.
Yeah.
Depressed.
Yeah, acting widow.
Oh, okay. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that, and also looking widow. black
Okay, what
clothes,
do you mean? Oh, yes.
sad face.
Listen, I wear black in general.
Same.
I'm always in black.
Same.
You know, I had somebody say to me,
what?
It was like a year and a half later.
Yeah.
How long are you going to continue to wear black for?
She's like, this is just my work, you know.
No, I actually said it has nothing to do with that. I just always wear black.
You do. It's quite frustrating. I won't
You
bring
just
up
said you
the event. I wear colour, babe. You are real.
She wouldn't let me wear black. I wanted to wear a really nice black dress.
No.
And she said that I looked like
miserable.
A miserable widow.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you on this. This is true. Again, society has expectations of how they want you to behave after someone passes. And once again, it's stupid to think that if someone wears a red top the week after their partner passes away or their whatever passes away, that they're not. And let's just remember, in some cultures, it's encouraged to wear colour at a funeral.
That's right.
I know in ours it's not, but in some cultures, colour is preferred.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen funeral services where everyone's in the person's favourite colour.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't, this is crazy old school way of thinking. I'm sorry, but a widow needs to be able to do what they want to do. You need to give them space, right? They need to express themselves the way they want to express themselves. If they want to wear black for the rest of their life, let it be. You know, again, what's so funny about this and frustrates me about people, right? If I wanted to wear black for the next 70 years, I would hear, you're a young girl, you got to get out of black. Black looks terrible on you. You got to get out of it.
That's right.
But if after 1 week I wore a pink dress, oh my God, look at her in a pink dress. She should be in black.
That's exactly right.
Fuck off. Let people, you cannot possibly tell me that you genuinely think that the colour of my clothing shows you how much I loved or didn't love my husband.
Or how you're feeling
about my husband's death.
That's correct.
Crazy and uneducated.
But also on that, if you go out 3 months, and I don't mean I'm going out like to party.
You are breaking rules. Dinner.
God forbid. If you went as, you know, you went to just go and have a coffee with a friend to get out of the house because you're miserable at home and you're depressed.
Yeah, you
and
didn't love your husband.
Wanted to change, you know, you wanted a change of atmosphere.
I know.
Okay, does that mean that I've stopped grieving?
Apparently, to a percentage of people, yeah. You know what's funny? When my husband first passed away, I think it was a few weeks later maybe, or a month later, I remember someone had suggested that we do like a breakfast or something. It was like family. It wasn't like anything like that. Just get together and whatever. I wasn't ready. You know, I remember calling one of my sister-in-laws and I was like, oh, look, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think I can really be in that environment. I don't think I can go to breakfast, right? She's like, you know what? I agree. Don't think I can do that either. That's how I felt at the time, so I didn't go.
Definitely.
Now, fast forward 3 or 4 months, maybe someone invited me out and I was like, you know what? I can go.
Yeah.
I can go. And the thing is, it takes steps for us, right?
Oh my God,
so
definitely.
It's not like a switch flips and we're out at breakfast every week.
No.
It's a slow thing. It's a gradual thing.
That's exactly right.
We put our feet in the water a little bit.
But also, you might, on one day, you might be fine to go to breakfast.
Yes. And on
then
another day you're not.
The following week,
that's exactly
someone
right.
invites you somewhere.
That's exactly right.
You don't want to go.
100%.
And I remember, you know, there was one time where I went out, it was just a dinner with my friends, and prior to that, like I was at home and I just felt like I couldn't go. I was so depressed and I didn't want to leave the house.
Of course.
And then, you know, I thought, and my cousin said to me, look, just get dressed, get ready. You know, you might feel better about yourself. So I did. I got ready. I got there and I turned back around and I drove home.
Yep.
And that's okay.
And they're your waves. They're your stages of grief.
Correct.
That's your emotions.
Correct.
That's your up and down.
That's right. So if people saw me at a dinner, okay, it did not mean that I was over my husband's death.
How ridiculous to even insinuate that. That's ridiculous.
I know people were insinuating that.
Course
I'm not going to lie to you.
Babe, 100%.
I'm not going to lie to you. I know people were talking shit about me behind my back, and I know that people were insinuating. But guess what? I also didn't want to sit at home. There were times where I didn't want to sit at home and I didn't want to sit with my thoughts because I knew what was going to happen.
That's exactly right.
I was going to spiral.
And again, as a widow, if you're listening to this, you do what you're comfortable with and you do what makes you feel right. And if that's going out with your girlfriends, you go out. If that's not going out, you don't go out.
I know my husband wouldn't have wanted me to stay at home. And
well, don't say that, because you've got a friend on TikTok who thinks he knows your husband and what he would have wanted. Do you remember your old mate? So chill with you knowing your husband.
He's not my old mate, guys. He thinks he knows what my husband.
Mick, I don't know.
Yeah, he thinks he knows what my husband would have wanted for me.
Yeah, that's right. So watch what you say.
Fuck off.
Yeah. You too. Fuck off.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
You can do whatever the hell it is you want to do. You know what? I'm fucking angry now.
Oh gosh, we've opened a can of worms. An hour in.
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I felt that a lot.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Absolutely. No, don't cry. Oh my God. Guys, what just happened? See what I mean? In the last episode, which random cries. This is what's wrong, Joel? Don't.
Sorry.
That's okay. Because you felt like judged.
So judged. Yeah. It was so wrong.
Yeah.
It was so wrong to fucking make me feel that way. I had to fucking hide. Yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah.
There were times where I had to hide what I was doing.
Yeah. I know.
What was I doing that was so wrong?
I know. How disgusting
it is disgusting. Yeah. It's fucking disgusting.
I know. I agree.
I felt so judged. I shouldn't have ever had to feel like that.
Of course not.
Ever.
Of course not. And, you know, I feel bad saying this, and God forgive me, but I do say it often and I actually do stand by it. I look forward to a time where these people, because everyone's going to go through it, right? If you're married.
You can't look forward.
Sorry, but I do. I look forward to when you're in our position and you have to eat your words and you have to go through that too, because this is very different, babe. This is not someone judging you for an outfit or someone judging you for whatever. This is you're judging someone after their husband's just died and you're projecting that onto the person and making the person feel a certain way. They're already going through a hard time. You don't need to add to that. And you're not a very nice person if you're adding to that, and you're probably miserable yourself, right? So I always say, and I don't care, I will say it, I look forward to people being in that position, because you know what? You should never ever talk too much, because God will turn it around and you'll be in that position one day and you'll eat your words. It always happens. It doesn't even have to be with losing someone. If you judge someone hard on something, 9 times out of 10 in life, God reverses it and gives you that exact same situation. There you go. How would you deal with it now? Because that's your karma, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I don't feel bad saying that. But I completely understand you and how you feel and why you're so upset about it and why it still upsets you.
Yeah, it really does still upset me. It really does, because it's not fair. Like, you can't sit there and, judge me for something you know nothing about. Yeah. You don't, like I said to you, there were so many times where I would,
Yeah.
Do a U-turn and drive home.
Yeah. And you don't and you know what? You don't see that because you're not with us every day. You don't see what happens before the event or after the event.
That's right.
Or you know how many, I will never forget going to an event, right? And I had a great time there after my husband passed away. I had a great time there. On my way home, it was like everything hit me like a ton of bricks. Not for going. I had a great time. It wasn't that. It was like, okay, so usually when I leave dinner with my girlfriends, I always call my husband on the way home. Like on my ride home, I call him, hey babe, what are you doing? What's happening? I'm on the way home. This is what happened. See you soon, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember getting into that car and I was like, okay, I don't have anyone to call now and I'm just going home and no one's waiting for me. I'm just like, my son was, which was beautiful, but, and I remember my mum was looking after him and it was like, tag team. I walked in, my mum walked out and I was just like sat in an empty house. I remember I was just sitting downstairs on my couch and I was like, wow, this is fucking miserable, and everyone at dinner saw me having a great time and I did have a great time and I enjoyed myself, but I went back to miserable, right? So,
but that's the thing.
Yeah.
You were out of the environment that you were in for a couple of hours and you are allowed to be in the moment.
That's exactly right.
At this dinner.
That's exactly
with your friends. You are allowed to do that. Okay? Now, when you go home, obviously you're coming back you're coming home to the house that you lived in with your husband.
Absolutely.
Right? You have a certain routine that you're used to.
That's right.
Okay? And so that first time that you went out, great, had a great time. Coming back, of course you're going to be miserable.
100%.
Of course you're going to be miserable. Now, I can guarantee that if people saw you sitting at a table with a bunch of girlfriends having dinner. Oh, look at her.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Yeah, she's over it.
Oh my
God.
That
was quick.
That was quick.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's why it's so important as people in general, widow, not a widow, whatever. Don't worry about what anyone thinks because they actually don't know. People don't know you. That's why I always tell you, and I've said it in another podcast as well, who do I care about opinions when it comes to me? My mum.
That's right.
My mum, she sees me. She sees me at home. She knows when I'm off. She knows how I'm feeling. She knows how I am. Her opinion, I would care about and it would offend me. Of course,
it's your mum at the end of the day.
Anyone else's, I really couldn't give a fuck because you don't know. You don't know what happens. You don't know on my way home that I was miserable or that I cried or that I this or that I that. You don't know. And you know what? It's none of your business. So just keep it to yourself.
Exactly.
People really, they need to learn to keep stuff to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about my little cry, everyone.
No, we're all about like raw emotions.
Clearly that was bottled in and I've not expressed.
I'm glad you got that out.
That. Yeah.
I know. Right.
But anyway.
Alrighty, guys. Do you have any more misconceptions?
No.
No, me too. I'm done. I'm misconceptioned out. Alrighty, guys. We will be back next week for another episode. As always, any comments, any questions, anything you want to hear about, comment or send us a DM. Married Now Widowed on all platforms, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.